Okay, so these knobs have, I wanted to use that melody because I'm about to destroy the melody, and sometimes it takes me a little while to come up with a melody in this way. But now I want to show you the range of these knobs. So let's go to the first one. Before you start, and actually before you do anything with this synthesizer, you need to check out what these settings are, because these settings affect your oscillators and your filter at all times when the synthesizer is on, whether you're using the sequencer or not. So you will get a different value for the tuning of the synthesizer depending on what these knobs are set to. These are the amount that the sequencer is controlling the oscillators and filter. So let's get it going again. We're going to turn off VCO2 so we won't hear it. And I'm going to turn this down so you can hear the effect it will have. You can hear that the pitch has changed and the intervals between the notes have changed. So this is valuable for a number of reasons. It allows you to decide how much variability is happening with each of these knobs, and you can also decide to what degree the sequencer is controlling each oscillator. So like we'll turn oscillator 2 back on. So right now we're getting different pitch values going to oscillator 1 than those going to oscillator 2. And you're getting actually little two-note situations. And with a little bit of effort, you can actually set these so that you have two different notes on some of the values. And of course, we have the filter, the degree to which these knobs are controlling the filter in each step is controlled with this knob. So right now it's on off, so the filter value is completely defined by whatever filter settings are happening. As you can see right now, we have some modulation going on with the filter. So we'll turn that off, and then we have some envelope affecting the filter. We'll turn that off. Now we have nothing because the filter cutoff point is all the way down. But if we turn it up, I want you to stop and listen to that analog sound. That is so cool. And so your filter, the degree to which the filter is controlled, can be heard. So we have it all the way up. So to get some interesting, because now these are really like throwing the filter cutoff point way up there, you can adjust the filter cutoff point so that there's some variability. And this is a good way to get gaps or notes not played, is by turning the value all the way down, like say this step, and then turning the filter cutoff point to a point where, because of this setting, this takes the filter cutoff point below our ability to hear it. So you can get some breaks in there. And of course, we haven't talked about how the sequencer right now is triggering the envelopes because of this knob up here called the sequence trigger. And in this, you have the opportunity to have the sequence trigger neither of the envelopes and have them completely controlled by whatever MIDI input you have coming in. Or you can decide that both of them are controlled by the sequencer, like I have it currently set. You'll notice there are switches in each of the envelopes. I have the MIDI trigger set to off so that the sequencer is in complete control of the triggering of these envelopes. And then you can decide whether the sequencer is going to trigger only envelope 2, which we currently have set to the amp, so of course we're going to hear it. If we had the amp set to 1, we wouldn't hear anything. So, but if you have different MIDI arrangements going on, that may not matter. It depends on your setup, and that's why this is so complex. It depends what you're putting into it, what you're going to get out of it. We can switch it to 1, And I switched the VCA to 1 so that we'd actually still be able to hear it. And because envelope 1 is set to a different setting, we have an entirely different articulation happening. And you can switch those back and forth. Okay. The cool thing about this current arrangement, which is delightful, is that when it's timed to the LFO, whatever LFO settings you have in the modulation are going to be in time. So when you make these changes, you'll be able to hear them happening in time. So that's pretty cool. Of course, you'll have to find another means of synchronization with something external, but it's a really cool effect. And it doesn't take long, as you can see. You start messing around with the modulation, and almost immediately you're going to get into some really crazy cool sounds. Which is one of the reasons this synthesizer is so great for creating percussion sounds, which we're going to talk about in the next video. When you have the second oscillator in sync with the first oscillator, and then the sequencer is controlling the two pitches in different ways, you can generate sync effects. And all this time, I hope you're hearing all of the really cool analog richness that's happening.